Would everyone mind standing up for a sec? If you're able to, would you mind standing? I just wanted to check something here, if I may. If you've had bees, been looking after bees for more than 10 years, could you please sit down? More than 10 years. Okay. If you've been keeping bees for more than 5 years, could you sit down, please? That's pretty interesting, isn't it? I've been about 3.5 years. So if you reckon you've had bees for more than 4 years, sit down. 3 years? More than 3 years, sit down. Wow, there is a lot of new beekeepers in the room. Thanks very much, everyone. So the information that Bronwyn and I have prepared for tonight is probably relevant to a lot of people, because you haven't been around for 10, 15 years like some beekeepers have, and have gone through all the cycles of what can go wrong with bees. I titled my delivery tonight as Beekeeper Responsibilities. We do have a lot of responsibilities. Honeybees, like other livestock, don't just look after themselves. And an old mate of mine is in his late 80s now. He had bees up the Murray in the 70s. And when he first talked to me about bees, he said, well, you've got sheep, you've got cattle. It is just another form of livestock, but you have to manage it in a much different way. And I thought that was quite interesting. I hadn't thought of bees as being livestock. But with any livestock, even our pets, we have responsibilities. The beekeeper has a legal and moral obligation to maintain the bees in a healthy state in such a way that they not become a nuisance. Try for me, I'm about 3-4 k's to my nearest neighbour. I don't really have to worry about that. But people who are living in town or on the fringes of a town may need to consider that. The bees must be kept in accordance with the terms of the Livestock Disease Control Act of 1994 and the Apiary Code of Practice of 97. Who knew that? I never knew that. How many people? Yeah, some people know that. Good. Registration of a beekeeper. Where a person keeps one, but not more than 5 hives, you must register yourself as a beekeeper. The good part is, if you've only got 5, it costs you nothing if you register online. It's free. If you want to have a paper application, because you don't have internet, it is $30. And if you have you have 6, but no more than 50, it's $30. It's not expensive when you think about it. And can anyone tell me what's the benefit of us all being registered?
Communication, biosecurity.
Communication, biosecurity, yeah. If something goes wrong, the inspectors can communicate that to everyone who's in that area. If you've got 51 or more, it's actually 60 cents per hive.
There's a fine up to $2,000 if you're not registered.
Has it? Stan saying gone to $2,000 if you're not registered. It's worthwhile registering, isn't it? The certificate of registration shows your number. You can print off your registration online if you register, if you're a new beekeeper. And obviously some of these things, a lot of people here know all about, but for those that are new into bees, I think it's important to know that. It's compulsory to brand your beehive. Now, you don't have to do every box, as long as it is branded in such a way that at a distance someone can identify your hive. Numbers should be at least 19 mil high. Not very high. Mine are actually about 50, 60 mil. But 19 is enough. The registration goes for how long?
2 years.
Thank you, 2 years. The department will send you out a reapplication form. And if you don't get it, there's a number to ring. The code of practice is to ensure that bees do not become a nuisance to other people. And there's a lot of standards we have to adhere by. The code requires beekeepers to manage, this was an interesting one, manage colonies to prevent or minimise swarming. I think it's a bit hard to make that as a something we have to do. We try to stop them swarming for our own benefit. The code also says that we must capture swarms that have left a colony that we own. I'm not sure how they intended us to do that one.
You've got to brand every bee.
It's going to be interesting. I don't know how they
train them with a whistle.
And also I don't know how they can prove that they're your swarm. One that is quite valid, provide water on the property where the bees are located. Has anybody here, some of the beekeepers been around for a while, got any good ingenious ways of making sure bees have got water during the hot weather? Yeah, what do we do?
I have a fish pond.
Fish pond, sounds good. Stan?
I've got a tap on a rainwater tank that I leave dripping on a dish of sand.
Tap dripping, sounds good. I've got a bucket that I put a hessian bag in and have it draped over the side, and it just continually has a bit of water coming out onto the hessian. I've got an old trough, and I've got a lump of timber and just a fence post, so it's something that the bees can land on.
Can I just say,
Yeah.
we all think about providing water for bees in the summer, but I've been working, even in this weather, I've been working in my shed, and I can see the pipe that feeds into the water tank, and even on these cold wet days, the bees are going backwards and forwards to where the water is dripping into the water tank to collect water.
I suppose just because it's winter we don't stop drinking.
Yeah, but, yeah. So even in winter we need it.
Yeah, thanks.
During winter, the bees need the water to dilute the honey before they eat it.
Oh, there you are. Didn't know that one. To dilute
Yeah.
the honey. We must maintain colonies located in urban areas with young docile queens. This comes out of the code. What they say in the code. Store used hive components, not housing bees, in such a way that bees cannot gain entry to it. I think Bron was talking about that. Any equipment you've got, make sure that it's sealed. Code also requires us to prevent or minimise activities of robber bees. I suppose we can try to, but robber bees are going to be doing what they can to rob, aren't they? Observe high density limits for properties in urban areas. What are the limits? Does anyone know in Leongatha what's the limits on beekeeping? Is there a limit the council says that you can have no?
The square, it depends on how many square metres your block is.
Okay.
So, I can't remember off the top.
So it's a little bit of an involved formula.
It is, yes. If you've got so many 100 or 1,000 square metres, and you can have one hive, and then yeah.
Okay.
I've
I
got
think
3
it's
acres.
500 square metres.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, you get 500 square metres, you can have one, you get 1,000, you can have two.
Okay, so if you're really enjoying having the one hive and you do live in the centre of town, it might be worth checking the local regs before you go crazy and have 50
It's state
hives.
it's
But
not.
it states it in the Apiary Code of Practice, how many hives you can have on different size
Okay.
land.
And the other one too, you can't put your hives closer than 3 metres to an adjoining property fence, provided, although what you can do is put a high wall up on that fence. And they talk about putting place hives more than 3 metres from a property boundary fence, or install a bee-proof barrier not less than 2 metres high on the boundary fence line adjacent to the hives. That sounds a lot of effort, but a bee-proof barrier is not required where the adjoining property is unimproved. So if there's no home there, you don't have to worry about it. It talks about in the same code here that with swarms, please practice good swarm prevention. And if these bees swarm, try to catch them before they invade your neighbour's home or trees. Keep good relations with your neighbours, share a bit of honey, and discuss with them the value of pollination. One thing which I hadn't thought before, but it's probably quite valid. Some beekeepers lose interest, or because of health issues, or because they pass on. Their bees are abandoned unless the family or someone else takes them over. And it's an important thing to remember that if you know of someone who's having, it was discussed before, having trouble looking after their bees, consider giving them a hand or if they have got to the point they're struggling to look after them, offer to take them from them. Because the last thing we want is for abandoned hives, which is a great place for, again, as Brian said, for disease to grow. The Department of Agriculture does have a number of programs for hobby and commercial beekeepers. They can help you with diagnosis of infestations of different diseases and pests, and there is a number which I've got here in Paul. Notifiable pests and diseases. I was interested in this one. Those beekeepers out there will probably know the older ones, but is chalk brood a reportable disease?
Supposedly.
It is. It's actually down in the Act that you must report chalk brood if you discover it within 7 days.
They have to hire 1,000 bloody people to handle the reports. They've got
Small hive beetle. Currently, if you find that in your hive, should you report it?
Not in Victoria.
Right?
Not in Victoria.
Well, actually, yeah, within 12 hours of discovering small hive beetle. I spoke to one of the inspectors today, and he said, yeah, it is still in, but hive beetle is so pandemic in Victoria now that there's lucky if there's a hive in Victoria that hasn't got a hive beetle in it.
We only have 3 apiary inspectors in Victoria, I think.
And he said, look, everyone's going to have it. If you haven't got it right now, you're going to have it. Everyone does get it. Not much you can do about it. It is pandemic. It's just a matter of you managing it, and we will be taking it. They said the government will be taking it off the reportable list soon.
Was that Victoria or New South Wales?
Victoria.
Because I know it's definitely the case in New South
The
Wales.
Victorian inspector I spoke to today, now I can't remember his name, there was about 2 or 3 I rang up.
Daniel?
Daniel, yes, might have been Daniel. And he said, yes, it is there at the moment, it will be coming off.
Okay.
He said the same thing 12 months ago.
Did he? Perhaps it's more pandemic now than what it was. Perhaps there's degrees of pandemic. Obviously the Varroa mite is one you must report immediately. One thing that also in the biosecurity code, it says beekeepers must examine each apiary under their control with a visual inspection. Each hive, for general hive strength and for the presence of pests and diseases, inspections must be carried out, A, in a manner likely to detect any visual presence, B, as often as necessary to minimise inter-hive spread of pest, and C, in any other case, at least twice every year at a minimum of 4 consecutive calendar months apart. So the person who goes and buys, and this is what I know worries a lot of people, who go and buy a hive that seems like, oh, this is one I just shove in the backyard and I go down every now and then, grab a bit of honey out and I don't have to worry about it. Do they realise, have they been told that they must check it twice a year? I don't know. It does say currently in the code that at least one hive in every apiary must be examined. This is twice a year, using a sugar shape, alcohol wash and a drone uncapping.
4.
No. All 3 are down, because I spoke again to the inspector today and he said, yeah, but he said alcohol wash, not a lot of beekeepers, hobby beekeepers, are going to want to do that because you're going to kill off a number of bees. So he said the only one that we really would like everyone to do is the sugar shape. Happy if you don't do the others, as long as you do a sugar shape twice a year. Any questions? And I had a great little cartoon to put up with these questions. I can read it to you. This bloke's gone into the lawyer's office and says, how much would it cost me to ask you a question? The lawyer says, what's your second question? Any questions on that? I apologise, I haven't got the slides to show.
Can I just stress, as far as the sugar shake, just a reminder that in November we've got Bill Ringen, who's an incredibly experienced beekeeper, I don't know, 40 years, right, or something like that. Yeah, he'll be coming and he'll be talking about the sugar shake and other things that we can do to check for disease in our hives. So that's November. we should come along to that one.
Wax moth. Who's seen wax moth in their hive? So then, again, it's another one. Everyone seems to have it. The wax moth simply takes advantage of undertended combs and lays large numbers of eggs. The wax moth creates silk tunnels, if you've seen it when it gets really bad, and silk all through the frame. It is suggested that when a colony of honeybees dies from one or more diseases, a wax moth will quickly clean up the contaminated combs. I don't know how that helps. At a temperature of -7, you can kill all stages of wax moth in 4 to 5 hours. Anybody here got any good ideas for how they kill it off? Or you should?
Put them in the freezer.
I do the same. I've got a couple of just feed bags. And we've got a couple of big chest freezers. I wet 3 or 4 frames in each bag, drop them in the freezer, leave them overnight, pull them out the next morning, whack them in a sealed plastic container and put in another flooring. And just keep cycling through them all. Anybody got any ideas that's better than that, or think that's not a good idea? You just put a whole. I haven't got room in my freezer to do that. I keep telling my partner, get rid of some of the food, but the bees are more important. Yeah, that's a good. Then,
the chest freeze that you can stand your frame up in to store my frame, so I can freeze them, and then once they've been frozen, I just turn the freezer off and leave the frames in there for the winter.
oh, well, that's great. You've got a spare freezer for that stand, so that sounds a great idea. Yeah. I know someone who works at Harvey Norman if you want to buy another freezer.
And there is, the freezer I bought was from Harvey Norman, and it did fit the frame. You've got to search around to get the right model.
Get the right model freezer to suit the bees. That's good. Now, I know Bron spoke before, and we don't like using chemicals. There is a chemical that does kill off wax moth, phosphine, but I've read about it, and from what I understand, anyone ever used it? Yeah.
No, but we advise.
It's deadly to wax moth. I know you can say it's also deadly to humans. So
It's not for hobby beekeepers.
no, it's a really dangerous one. Leave this one absolutely to the professionals. Just I only say it because if someone hears, oh, you can buy this stuff, these tablets, keep away from it.
Most of the big beekeepers don't use it, but
No.
they buy an old truck freezer unit
Okay.
and store their frames in a truck freezer.
During the warm weather, we're talking 25 to 35 degrees, remove supers of combs from hives that are not being covered by bees. This goes back similar vein to what Ron was talking about. It's great to have those extra frames in there to stop swarming, but there becomes a balance of enough frames, too many frames. Too many frames is where you can start getting the problems. If a colony does decline in population, it's not very uncommon during hot weather for wax moth larvae to very quickly destroy all the unoccupied frames. Any questions on that one? And the other one I just want to mention was chalk brood. Who's seen chalk brood in their hive? Yeah, we all seem to get it. Chalk brood is a fungus. The larvae are covered with a fluffy white fungal growth that looks like white mould on bread. How can I describe it? They're just little mummies, what do we say, 1/4 of an inch, 5-6 mil long, the diameter of your cells on your frame. And the bees are pretty good. I've got a photo which I was going to show, which I put when we did this course. We had to do a hive inspection, and I went and took a photo at the front of the hive, and it said, I looked for chalk brood, and I looked, there was about 10 pieces out the front of the hive. Hive was a good, strong, only a small hive, but very strong, just it was a single super, single brood box, that was it. But the bees were bringing it out. So I thought, well, that's good, they're cleaning up. And when I went and had a look at the frames, I couldn't even find any chalk brood in the hive. So obviously the bees were doing what they're meant to do. Transmission. The spores are highly infectious and are carried in contaminated pollen by infected foraging bees with spores left at floral and water sites. So as much as you might keep your hive really clean, there could be a hive that's 3-4 k away. There's a meeting point in between where your bees and their bees come, and if they've got the fungus, it gets left on the flower, your bees get it, you move on. If you catch a swarm, that's one of the problems there. Do you put the swarm away somewhere well away from your hives until you make sure there is no disease? Another swarm can have it. That's I've heard before, it's a great way to pick up diseases, catch a swarm. Because you don't know where the swarm came from. The spores remain viable for up to how long? Anyone want to have a guess?
10 years.
10? Any other bets? 15 years. Stay viable for 15 years. Use of contaminated sites and old equipment could lead to infection. So you buy some old equipment off someone, that's a risk you take. It's similar again to what Brian was saying about the mites. The small hive battle, at least stress within a hive could lead to chalk brood becoming a big problem. Why? Not enough bees. The bees are under stress, they can't do their work, they're overwhelmed, the chalk brood just mounts up. So the few things, common causes of stress. What causes stress? Children. Sorry. Husbands, wives, partners, lovers, yes. Would they all be? Yes. High and low temperatures, wet or dry conditions, poor nutrition, failing queen, poor hive management and moving hives. All of those cause stress to the bees, which can allow for it. How can we control the chalk brood? The only means of controlling the disease is through management practices and use of disease-resistant bees. There is no chemical, there is nothing that will help you with chalk brood. Maintaining a strong, healthy colony has been demonstrated to reduce the effects. Remove the mummies. If you see them, like I said, in the front of the hive, remove them. If they're in the bottom of the hive, remove them. Remember, it's just more spores that will keep on feeding. Feed good ventilation, not allowing bees to winter in a hive that is overseeded. The same story keeps going, isn't it? It is the same thing with all these diseases.